So like you're walking with your parent or whatever, and you fall down and you hurt yourself. And it hurts. It hurts, so you're having some pain, okay? So you fall down and hurt yourself, and the pain starts to build, okay? And then if you're allowed to fully express the pain, it looks like this. It starts, energy is created, it starts spooling around in there, down in here somewhere. And then it'll peak if it's allowed to run its full course, and then it'll leave you. That's an example of a healthy expression of feeling. So it doesn't mean that you have to express it to other people, right? I'm not saying you have to go express these feelings to others. I mean just to have it expressed to yourself, just so that you know what the feeling is. But what typically happens is this occurs, and let's say we're walking, we fall down, and in my example yesterday, I'll use the same one. Your dad or mom is like, hurry up, that didn't hurt, or I'll give you something to cry about. Well, remember, kids learn by modeling. So basically, I'm talking about you're 2 or 3 years old. I'm not talking about you're 10 and then this starts to happen. Whenever you're a little bitty kid, everybody has this nice, wide ability to feel, unless they're on the autistic spectrum. So if there's nothing hardwired that's damaged or not exactly right, you have this nice, wide range of your ability to feel your feelings. As soon as a parent or caregiver starts telling you they're not okay, with examples like I just used, like they're not acknowledging that actually you're hurt and that that's okay to be hurt, and then maybe we move forward. Instead, what happens is you fall down, you hurt yourself, and you start being like, meh, like you're hurt. And your dad or mom is like, cut that out. We have to go somewhere. The first time that happens, the first time, it doesn't take a bunch of times. The first time that happens, that child, you guys as children, literally is like, this does not please mommy or daddy. And all they want is witness and approval from the parent or the caregiver. So this has to be explained to a child. This is very young child stuff. And so as soon as you're not okay with whatever they're experiencing, you stuff it. And that makes a ball of gook. Okay? This ball of gook is an unexpressed feeling. So it's a feeling that you're not allowed to express. You're not supposed to be having it. So you're like, you know, did you guys ever hear, don't be angry at mommy? I know I did. Yeah. Don't be angry at mommy. You're not allowed to be angry with me. That's disrespectful, or whatever it is. But the reality is that you're having some anger. And so understand that they're taught this by their parents and 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 their, all the way back to probably hunter-gatherer times, if you will. Okay? So I just want you to understand this is an unexpressed feeling, and that's not cool. So essentially, we just do it to ourselves from that moment forward. Anger is not okay, for example. Pain is not okay. These feelings are not okay. But the initial knowledge, or the way it's learned, is from that feeling is not being reflected back to you is okay. And that's how kids know that what's happening with them is okay. It's literally by looking at the caregiver or the parent in the eye and kind of knowing what's okay or what isn't okay. That's the only way a little bitty kid knows they're okay, is by how you're kind of vibing, basically. All right? So this unexpressed feeling makes a ball of gook. It's one of the things that really gums up the works for people. Remember I said the mental and emotional blocks? A lot of what people are carrying around are these unexpressed feelings. The problem with that as well, besides causing you to get triggered into child and teen, is that, remember I said you had this nice, wide ability to feel. So essentially you have like, you've got joy and love and passion, you have your lighter feelings over here, and then you got your darker feelings, anger, pain, shame, guilt. You have this whole range for yourself. As soon as this stuff starts, you're like, okay, I'm not supposed to be having these darker feelings. They're not being reflected back to me as okay. And so you start stuffing them, and then you start losing your ability to even feel them. So let me give you a visual representation. It's like, okay, you're not allowed to show pain because then you're a sissy, for example, or whatever it is. I mean, this is what we hear as boys and as little kids, So you're not allowed to feel that. So you literally start stuffing it, and very quickly, I mean very quickly, I'm talking about you're 3, 4, by the time you're 5 years old, you had this nice wide ability to feel, and it starts getting shrunken down. Typically that starts around the darker feelings, because those are the ones parents typically don't want to deal with or express because they were taught they're not okay either. It can also be lighter feelings. There are parents that are like, what are you so happy about? I mean, this does happen. It may surprise you, but it happens more than people realize. So whether it's a darker feeling or a lighter feeling, you start going, this isn't okay. You start stuffing it, and it starts messing with this mechanism, this ability to even know what it is that you're feeling. In other words, how to identify what's happening with you. So the thing is this is like a seesaw or a chemistry equation. This is one mechanism, and what happens on one side, unfortunately, happens to the other side. So you start going, most people, the typical is that you're not allowed to express these darker feelings, you shouldn't be having them. And then you start doing that, but then it shrinks the other side too. So then you stop being able to even notice some of the lighter feelings, the ones that you supposedly want to have or people do like. So you start out with this nice wide range or ability to feel, this affective range. And it started out like this, and literally by the time you're 5 years old, it's like that. For most people. Most. This is typical. When I say typical, I mean like 98%. I don't mean like 50%. I mean, this is what happens to all of us. So then it went from joy and love and pain and guilt and all these ability to feel your feelings. Oh, it just kicked off. Yay, it works. So your ability to feel your feelings, you're left with, I feel good, or I feel bad, or I don't know. And so that's very typical for most people. Boys, in particular, little boys, okay, so basically I actually think that boys are more emotionally sensitive than girls. Women are a little stronger than men, okay? They really are. Emotionally and even physically. That's why they live longer. Emotional and physical, right? They have to birth a baby. I don't think that would work out so well for us. Not just because anatomically, but you think about it. Men, we're like, oh, I have a headache. It's like the end of the world. Or whatever's going on. It's like this huge thing. And literally, the woman in your life is like, what? I've had a headache for 3 days, and I don't know what you're talking about. Whatever. So anyway, boys are actually very sensitive little creatures. And it's partly why it's so heavily socialized out. It's trying to socialize it out of them. You're not supposed to be this way. And I believe it's evolutionary in nature. It goes back to the physical strength of the male typically, and in hunter-gatherer days, if you have to go out and hunt and do these things, then how are you going to do that if you're terrified of going out there and doing it? So I believe that's actually where it started, and it's just been compounded, and we still kind of evolved in this way. Women, as girls are allowed to have more feeling. They're allowed to express it. They can hold hands with another girl. Can you imagine in this country, in junior high, boys holding hands that are walking in school? No, that's not how we do it, okay? So basically, women are allowed to have a little bit more, and they tend to have a little bit more, not necessarily every woman, but a little bit more ability to feel. And so that's why also in male-female couples, the wife or the female in the couple will be like, well, what is it that you feel? And the guy's like, I don't know. You keep asking me this, and now I'm mad because I don't even know what you're talking about. And it's because it's heavily socialized out of males, okay? Through this process down here, through this parental relationship and whether it's okay to have a feeling or not. So just wanted to give you, that's like a little intro into what you're learning, because I want you to understand that this ability to not identify your feelings, it's not good, because part of how you work well with your kids is being able to reflect back to them that their feelings are okay. I mean your kids right now that are inside of you. It's actually why it's built into the correction process as well. You need to know what it is that you're thinking and feeling in order to work with yourself, essentially. And also to kind of live your life, connect with people, things like that. So most people have this tiny little range. Some people have more of it range, but everyone gets some shortening of this affective range. When you start expressing your feelings, meaning just to yourself. I'm not even saying you have to express it to other people. That's not the word choices may be poor or a limit of English, but literally you have to express it to yourself. If you know what it is, then you don't shorten this range, and you also don't build up more and more of these balls of gook. People are riddled with these, filled to the brim with them in their little energy channels, these blocks that they have. Okay?